everybody, this is Alma Love Books. I'm your host Alma, and welcome to my reading corner. Today, I'm going to do another original book tag. I haven't gone through BookTube to see if there's another tag like this, so there might be, but I just thought I'd, check it out anyway and do my own thing, because that's what I do. I do my own thing. Today's original book tag is called Growing Up Books. So this one's going to delve into the books of your past that got you into reading, the books of your present that continue to make you want to read. And let's get started, shall we? So the first book, yes, I have a notebook because I'm a terrible, terrible person when it comes to actually doing these things. I need a script. I'm realizing this about myself. The first question is, what's the first book to get you into reading in your formative years? So ages, we'll say 5 to 10. The one I picked for this one was A Toad for Tuesday. It was read to us in class when I was in, I think, first or second grade. And it's about this owl who catches a toad, and he decides to save him to eat him on Tuesday. And this toad gets away. So that's the basis of the story. But little, 5-6-year-old Alma was like, this story is amazing! Oh my goodness, I love it! And then I started thinking, maybe there's other books I like. Because, at that time, there's still no character development or anything. It's just getting you into reading, Sam has a hat. The hat is on Sam. Those types of things, right? So, anyway, next question. What book got you through your awkward preteens? So, ages 11 to 13. This one was A Light On in the Attic by Shel Silverstein. And this one is just a compilation of poems, of silly, goofy, nutty poems. And it was the first book that I took out of the library of my own accord. No coercion or anything like that. And I stayed up all night to read this book. And to this day, it is still my favorite Shel Silverstein book. What is a book that held your attention in high school? This book was Heaven by V.C. Andrews. And the main reason this one held my attention was because, one, it was my very first V.C. Andrews book, and it was a recommended book or a recommendation read by somebody I used to babysit for. And up until this point in time, I had been reading contemporary and fluff. And while it was all well and good and I liked it, I definitely needed to branch out and think of something different. I didn't think I would like V.C. Andrews. I was dead set that I was more than likely not going to like her because I didn't like branching out of the genres that I usually read. So the fact that I branched out enough to read her books was a big step for me. And that is why Heaven will always hold a place in my heart. Because it was because of Heaven that I ended up reading Flowers in the Attic. And as everybody knows by now, Flowers in the Attic is Alma's favorite book series. Name a fictional character with whom you really relate. The first is Kyra from Gathering Blue. I relate to her most because she is an outsider in her community, and she feels like an outsider in her community. The whole reason she is still alive is because her mom fought to have her alive. Gathering Blue is the second book in the Giver series. It goes Giver, Gathering Blue, messenger, son. Giver, as we all know, because it was a required read in high school, at least for most of where I am. I don't know if it's for you guys, but Giver is about a guy named Jonas. Gathering Blue follows Kyra. Messenger follows Matt, and then Son follows Claire. I empathize and relate most to Kyra. And then the other one I relate to is Audrey from Come Thou Tortoise, because people underestimate her intelligence. And I don't know, I felt a bond with this particular fictional character. So next is, what's a book you wish you'd come across sooner in life? And for this one, I have to say Every Anxious Wave. I didn't necessarily give this one a good review writing-wise, but content-wise, I really did empathize with Lena a lot. And I wish that it had come into my life a little sooner than it had. Because I probably could have taken a little more out of it back then as opposed to now. And what's one book that came out at the exact right time, or came into your life at the exact right time? Mosquitoland by David Arnold. By David Arnold. This one is about a girl who ends up taking a 3-day trip from one end of the country to the other, or one end of the USA to the other. And her 3-day journey is documented in this book, and who she comes across and what she does to better herself and make herself feel better, and coming to grips with her issues and getting out of her own head. And this book really helped me get out of my own head and realize that maybe what I'm feeling is not necessarily what I need to be feeling at this time. Okay. A book that taught you something. And what did it teach you? I'm going to take this one literally. You can take it figuratively if you choose. But I'm going to go with The Disappearing Spoon and The Violinist's Thumb, both by Sam Keene. The Disappearing Spoon is a bunch of short stories about the periodic table of elements and how a lot of the periodic table of elements has shaped lives. And I learned a lot more about the table of elements than I had really originally intended by reading this book. And then not the Disappearing Spoon, I just talked about that one. The Violinist's Thumb is all about DNA and how our DNA affects everything, basically. So it's a bunch of short stories about that. And I love Sam Keene's writing, and he made learning these things so interesting. I highly recommend these books to anybody who wants to just learn a little bit more about how the human body works and how it ticks. Next question is actually the last question that I apparently came out with. So this is a book about a real life role model. And I picked The Miracle Worker. And The Miracle Worker is about two people that I absolutely admire. The first is Helen Keller, and she was born cognitive and absolutely intelligent. And then she got sick, and she ended up deaf and blind at the age of, I think it was 19 months old. And so it's about her journey, but it is also intertwined with Annie Sullivan, who ends up being Helen's teacher throughout her lifetime. And it follows Annie teaching Helen how to sign and how to understand, basically. Because she's like, I can give you the words, but I can't give you the meaning. I can give you no, but I haven't been able to give you yes. And that's just it. It's how she managed to take a deaf and blind girl and turn her from uncontrollable, because her parents could not control her at all, to somebody who understood and who was able to carry on and ended up going to Radcliffe College, which, by the way, Radcliffe is Harvard. It was the female version of Harvard at the time. And so she took an unruly girl and turned her into somebody who understood and somebody who could learn and love learning. And I find that absolutely just as enlightening as Helen Keller's journey from being that unruly girl to learning and loving learning and figuring life out as a deaf-blind person. So, thank you for joining me today, and since this is a tag, I am technically supposed to tag people. Our Books and Looks, I am tagging you. A Blonde with a Book, I am also tagging you. I know I tag you a lot, and I'm sorry. If you're bothered by this, let me know.
Yeah.
And Girl About Library, and The Dyslexic Reader. If anybody else wants to do the tag, you're welcome to it as well. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a lovely one.